Yeah,
Yeah.
so, just to start us up, just take us back to growing up in Oregon, What was life like there and how did you find your way into combat sports?
So like I'm from a real small town, Ontario, Oregon. It's like the most like eastern city in Oregon. Also voted like most dangerous per capita. Yeah, we just got a lot of drugs, dude. It's not that dangerous. But like anyways, yeah, there's just not a whole lot over there. Eventually, like I wasn't really into much like growing up other than just like hanging out with friends, and then high school started and I got convinced to go out for the wrestling team, and I wasn't very good at that. Like I went 0-12 as a freshman, and I don't know why I went back, but I did the next year and got a little better, got a little better. And by the time I was a senior, I actually ended up taking first at the state tournament, and that was like my first bit of flavor into combat sports and stuff. And then I tried to go to college. I went to Boise State for a semester. Some family stuff happened, so I had to like drop out right away. But I was planning on wrestling there, and then yeah, that didn't happen. So I kind of moved back home and just started working like a couple regular jobs. I think I was the manager at like a KFC, and I started selling cars, just doing that stuff. And then like I missed competing, so I ended up looking up some YouTube videos on like how to box, and I just went to the gym myself and started trying to like figure things out. And then eventually I found an MMA coach back home that it was a couple times a week, but it was enough to kind of get me going. And then after a couple months of that, I ended up taking my first amateur fight, and the rest was history, dude. I was hooked immediately.
Yeah, so you mentioned that, you had this very long stint with wrestling as your base going through high school and then that semester trying to wrestle at Boise State. But then you also, mentioned that you started finding you were doing boxing on your own, and that's how you really got into the swing of things. With
Yeah.
those two things in mind, throughout your career, would you consider your identity as a fighter to be more wrestling based or more striking based?
A little bit of both. I think most people think of me as a boxer for whatever reason. I did when I first started MMA. I took a couple fights, and then I went. The gym stopped, closed down or whatever. I don't know what the hell happened, but anyways, I found a boxing gym back home, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll just do this. So I ended up having like 9 amateur boxing fights. So like, I think some of that carried over when I went back to MMA. I just felt like I could box better than most people could, so I just used my wrestling to kind of keep it on the feet. So I think that's how I became a bit of a. I became known as like the boxer. Like nobody knew I could wrestle just because I counter wrestled so much. But lately, I think there's been a switch in the last few years that I started using my wrestling and grappling a lot more, and I think people are thinking of me more as a grappler now. So who knows?
Yeah, so you've really been all over showing your skills in the grappling and on the feet. And with that 9 amateur boxing fights that you had before MMA, you started in 2015 with the Front Street Fights. So going into that with this elite wrestling and striking background, feel you have this super strong advantage in striking to help you boost up through the amateur rankings?
Yeah, I think so. I think like just from my very first fight on, like I remember I went back and watched the video. I was like, those hands look good. Like and then I dropped the dude a couple times, and I was like, okay, I guess I because I didn't even know if I could hit hard. Ended up dropping. I was like, okay, cool, I can crack too. Like I think we got something here. And then I used to start fights pretty hard, and I would immediately kind of like crack people and put a pace on them, and it just kind of rolled with that, dude. That ended up becoming like my fight style.
Yeah, your fight style's definitely been control the pace, and obviously in those amateur fights you were dominating, and that's how you got that boost through. So along that time or through that time, when did you get that nickname Vandetta, and what's the origin story of that?
So that's actually not a nickname. That's my middle name.
Really,
Yeah.
it's
So
cool.
I use it to play off the word vendetta. So like a lot of my shirts and stuff, instead of having the E, I replaced that with the anarchy A, just because it kind of fits the whole mode of things. So yeah, everybody thinks that that's a nickname. No, that's legitimately that's like my grandpa's last name. and my mom kept that in the family by giving it to me and my brother as a middle name.
You switch the E to the A. So do you take on that word vendetta in your your fight style?
Vendetta. I draw some energy from the original word and then just kind of play it with my middle name. I was like, okay, cool. My a middle name means revenge. Like, you get me, I'm gonna get you back harder. So that's kind of where I take it a little bit.
Would you say you've carried that mindset throughout your career, that revenge, if you take a loss, if you take a win for me, I'm gonna get it back?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's just something I've kind of always been like that, like in wrestling too. That's just kind of who I am. So I just run with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So, switching paces a little bit, you train at a very illustrious gym, Syndicate MMA, in
Yep.
Vegas under John Wood. So, you mentioned the boxing, you mentioned this your other gym closing down, or you don't even know what happened. So, how'd you end up finding your way to Syndicate, and what was the process of getting there?
So after that other gym closed down, I went, like I said, I went and did some boxing, and then I went and trained. After that boxing gym closed down, I went and trained with just a boxer for my first few MMA fights. So I didn't even really get any jujitsu going until I was like 4 fights in or so as a pro. I just happened to catch some subs, so I was like, jujitsu's easy. And then I lost by submission, and I was like, all right, I guess I got to go train it. So with that being said, there was a new coach over in Boise, Idaho area, Tony Frickland, and he was pretty renowned, but and he was starting a gym, so I ended up finding my way over there and had a couple main training partners, and we just kind of stuck with it. And then when the time came, I got signed to the UFC, and I was like, okay, cool, maybe it's time to look at like moving to Vegas. So my old coach was coming this way as well. He wanted to, and yeah, we got here and we kind of went our separate ways. And I went to Syndicate MMA where I had did one training camp and met John Wood in the past. And yeah, man, I just felt like that was a good spot. And they had a great jiu-jitsu program. Obviously, the fight program there was great. I kind of meshed with all the guys there, and yeah, I think that was about 6 years ago that I was officially part of the team. And yeah, it's been great, man. Now I'm actually one of the coaches. I'm the team captain. Like I'm kind of one of the staples for the crew there, and we got a great atmosphere and just a bunch of savages in the room. Dude, I was getting rounds of Merab yesterday. Like, that was a terrible, just exhausting rounds. We got like lazy boys in there right now. Just a bunch of dope. It's a legit room, dude. So I'm honored to be repping that place as my home gym.
Yeah, Syndicate is definitely one of the top gyms in the country right now. And you mentioned, one of the best fighters over there in Merab and, getting minutes in with him. What's it like, training with fighters at such a high level? And, what's that environment like in the gym?
It's awesome, man. It makes me realize like the level that I am too, because I'm right in there with all these guys, and like we can exchange like knowledge and not just technique and stuff, but like mindset stuff as well. So it's there's nowhere like it. Like it just feels like the right place to be, kind of at all times. And I'm grateful I get to be there, and especially in Vegas, dude. We get so many out of towners that come in and come through. Unfortunately, that means I end up fighting a couple of some of them sometimes, but um, that's the nature of the game. It's a unique spot to be in. So we try to keep the culture and everything at a high standard and everybody on the same page. And I think within the last few years, we've made some serious strides into where we want Syndicate to be.
Yeah, Syndicate's definitely, like I said, top talent gym, and it's definitely, become very mainstream over this past
Yep.
year. So you mentioned the great atmosphere, and last week I had an interview with Kody Steele, who mentioned, you guys are very great friends, past
Yep.
training partners. So how did that friendship develop, and what does having someone like Kody, by your side in there day to day do for you, as a fighter and a person?
Yeah, man, Cody's the man. He moved here a few years ago, and like prior to that, we'd met and we kind of hit it off. And I was like, "This dude's cool." And like he was big in the jiu-jitsu world. I was like, I feel like I can learn some stuff from this guy. And yeah, with people like him and like Andre Feely too, like the room, the skill level in the room is just so damn high. Yeah, me and Cody, we used to live together for a bit, and um, it having somebody like that who does what he does at the level he does it, and getting to see the way that he approaches the game, and the stuff that he's learned from jiu-jitsu and how he's translating that. It's been pretty eye-opening for me, and I've been in this for over a decade now, and I still got a lot to learn. I feel like sometimes, and but at the same time, I've learned a lot. So I try to keep both, try to keep my mind right there. And he's just somebody that I feel like we can both we both went and fought in Australia on that
Hmm.
last card. So that was awesome to be able to have that whole experience with a close friend like that. And unfortunately, I didn't. We're both planning to walk away with a win, dude. And unfortunately, I dropped the ball on that one a little bit, but so be it. I was super happy for him. He's got a bright future ahead of him.
You guys are exchanging knowledge. You're both very talented fighters. The list of talented fighters at the gym you're training on goes on and on. So
Yeah.
besides Feely, Kody Steele, and Merab, who else are you in there exchanging knowledge with and getting better with day to day?
Man, a couple of my like main training partners. I got Cameron Sandoval, who's he's the A1 champion. He's fighting this week actually, so happy fight week him. That should be a six scrap. He's a savage. He's up and coming. He's legit. We got Chris Ocon, who's a bar size. He used to be a flyweight, but he's bigger than the rest of the bandweights. I don't know how that happened, but he's dope. He's the man. Yeah, we're good friends with him as well. Who else over there that's around our weight? I think I mentioned Lazy Boy earlier. Let me see. Let me see. There was somebody that came to mind. Oh, Stock Karen. He's over in lives in Israel right now, I believe. But he comes over and does his training camps with us. I think that kid's the future. Like he's damn good. Um, yeah, shout out him. It's hard to say, bro. That like the list is just so big, and every day I feel like I get a new friend and a new training partner going through there.
Yeah, I can definitely see that with Syndicate being in a main hub like Vegas, already being a main name. So many guys are going to be coming in and out of there, training, getting their camps in. So I can definitely see why you'd be getting all these new partners and getting management with them.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's the place to be, really.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Switching paces a little bit, you've had multiple stints in the UFC along your career. With very high level fights against guys like Song Yudong, Eamon Sahabi, Jonathan Martinez, Miles Johnson. The list goes on and on. So, looking back at your full experience in the UFC, what of those like really high level experiences and opportunities taught you? And going forward, what do you take the most from it?
I take a lot from them, and I think the main thing, and I'm still working on it. You would think after five or six close losses, I would figure it out, but like there's definitely I'm the common denominator in these, and I've had a lot of fights that I feel maybe should have gone my way, and then they didn't, and that's been a recurring theme ever since I got in the UFC. And I don't know what it is about the UFC that does that to me. I want to say something about the bright lights or just the amount of pay that's so different from what our normal structure is outside the UFC. I don't know. I'm working with a sports psych right now just so I can kind of realign some of the ways I think about things so I can bring out a better version of myself because I still feel like I'm 35, but I still feel like I got a long time in the game. I take good care of myself. I've yet to be like consistently hurt. I'm in there with like the oldest of my last three opponents was 26, so I'm fighting these young guys, and it's competitive all the way through. So um, yeah, I've learned a lot about myself. I'm still trying to learn the one thing that's going to separate me from the pack because I believe skill set wise I have it. There's something in my approach and execution that is it's just not where it needs to be yet. But I still feel like there's time for it. I do wish just because the UFC is what it is and has such a chokehold on MMA in the states, I could have made more of it. And I don't think it's for lack of effort because I was in there trying. It's just again to bring back what I was just saying. It's a lack of execution. So um, I'll work on that. I'm currently working on that, getting my mind right, and I think with shows like the MVP that just popped up and PFL that's doing its thing and just some other worldwide stuff. I think I still got lots of time to make a good name for myself and make a good amount of cash and continue doing what I love. So I'm kind of just trusting the process and trusting in my own skill set and just myself and putting the next putting my best foot forward going forward. So Yeah, man, we'll see. I'm ready to get a fight though already. Tell you what.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And just by your energy and how you present yourself, you don't seem like you're 35 at all. You don't seem like you're on the tail end of your career. So it's awesome to see that you have the energy, and I can definitely your career's far from over. So you look back at your recent fights in the UFC, like you said, very 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 high competitive fights with these young guys who are trying to make a name for themselves, and they happen to pick you to be the gatekeeper. So
Yeah.
moving forward, you mentioned places like MVP, PFL, and me personally, I'm a big fan of the PFL. I think that they have a very bright future. So, with these other promotions in mind, do you see yourself making the leap to those, or do you see yourself possibly trying to show the UFC you are that guy and you should be fighting there in the future?
So I'm not putting like a whole lot of like a focus on like where I end up or if I get back in or whatever. I'm just putting focus on myself and going out there and executing. And I think as long as I can do that, uh, the ball it's gonna go where it can, and I think that'll kind of figure itself out. I think my path is figured out once I figure out myself and my execution. So I can see myself making my name for myself in like Rizin again. PFL I'm super down for. MVP I'm super down for. Dude, if something pops up, I live in Vegas, so if something comes up here with the UFC like a short notice thing, I've always been that guy. I've stepped in for I don't know how many short notice fights. So if they feel like they want to throw my name back in there, sign me up. I'm going to make sure that I'm ready and prepared for whatever is next.
Yeah, 100%. And it's super interesting, that after that first stint in the UC, like you mentioned, you competed in Ryzen, and that is, one of the most the biggest promotions in, out of the states. So, what
Yeah.
was that experience like? Because the fans there, the stadiums, they're on par with the UFC. They're just not, American fans. So, what was that experience like?
Yeah, Ryzen was epic. Shout out Kai Asakura. He's the one who kind of helped me out and got that situated. That was one of my favorite MMA experiences of all time. That was it was nothing like that. From beginning to end, that show was like sold out. Uh, the crowd was super respectful. The fight was great. I fought one of their like real known guys, so we had a lot of eyes on the fight. Went out there and scrapped, dude. That was a fun fight. I do like the ring too. I think the ring brings out something from my style that plays into it. So I don't know, maybe I can get another one of them. But like I said, that was one of my favorite experiences to go to like the motherland of MMA and really go perform and walk away with a win as well. And not to mention, my wife's from Japan, so she came out for the last few weeks with me and showed me around and stuff. So that just kind of was a little cherry on top. It was a dude. It was awesome. I'm actually going back in August just to visit this time. I'm hoping maybe I can get a fight while I'm there or something, dude. Like, we'll see, we'll see. Yeah, that was like I said, that was one of my favorite experiences of all time.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially with your wife being from Japan. That's awesome that you have that extra, like you said, cherry on top. You get an expert, show you around and all that. So
Yeah.
you obviously have your eyes on promotions like you said, MVP, Ryzen, PFL. You're 35 years old, 16 wins, with more experience than anyone. You've been
Yeah.
in there for like 28 plus fights on your professional career. So at the highest level as well. So where do you see yourself, over the next year going, and just like what do you think the overall future looks like for you?
I think in the next few months I lock in my mindset and my skill set to match. So I think I got all the skills for it. Like I said, it's my execution, and that comes from the mindset. So when I lock in my mindset, I think it's off to the races, dude. Like I think I rack up some big wins. I think I get some good recognition. I think I make a good amount of money, and uh, and I set myself up properly for the future for me and my family. So that's the stuff that's on my goal list right now, and I believe with my capabilities, there's no reason I can't make it happen.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Like I said, you've got the energy of a 28-year-old, 26-year-old. You are excited, energized, ready to get back in. And I am curious though. You obviously are not focused on life after fighting yet, but do you see yourself solidifying a place in the Syndicate coaching staff following your professional fighting career?
I think so. I think we're kind of already in the process of establishing that. Like I'm one of the lead coaches for the amateur team here, and I help out with a bunch of the pros as well. But I'm also just as much part of the team too.
Mm.
So um, I think in the future, when things do slow down and my wife does convince me to finally stop, then I'm probably looking at coaching. Just whatever I can do to stay involved in the MMA world. I mean, this is like, it's it's the one thing that I've really, other than my wife, that I've really cared about. So I don't see me going anywhere far away from MMA.
Yeah, I love to see you have the passion, the energy, obviously, and I'm super excited to see what's next for you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I have one more question before we wrap this up, and before that, I just want to thank you for your time and the opportunity to hop on a call.
Oh, yeah, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So you've been in the sport for over a decade, competing against legitimate opponents all throughout your career. What has the journey taught you about yourself and that you couldn't have learned any other way?
Man, like I have more control on things than really than it's than I'd like to say. Like I think a lot of times this sport's tried to make a victim out of myself, and I refuse to be that sort of person. Uh, Resiliency is key, and I think I've kind of solidified that in within myself, and and yeah, man, like whatever whatever I want to do, I can do if as long as I commit to it, and I'm open enough to take the adjustments along the way. Like fighting for me has always been a direct correlation with life, and it's just a little more condensed and compressed. So yeah, I try to do that and learn my lessons and take them with a grain of salt, really, and not hold it too much in a way that makes me be down on myself and be a victim of it. And every little thing that I can stack up on that and become a better version of myself. That's what this thing's all about, is growth. So yeah, I think I've learned how to grow into the best person I can be, and I'm still in that process right now.
It's clear to see that you're a student of the game. You're growing every day, and like you said, you're not done in that process yet. So, like I
Yeah.
already said, I'm super excited to see what the future holds for you. And no matter the promotion, when that next call gets announced, I'd love to break down that fight.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. I'm in. I'm in. I'm ready for it. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm already getting like itchy for a fight. So
Yeah, you deserve it, man. People want to see Vandetta fight 100%.
yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, that's all I have today. Thank you again for everything. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Cheers, brother. You too. Take it easy.
Thank you. Have a good one.